The city of Valerius was a triumph of absolute transparency. Citizens lived in glass cubes, where privacy was a relic of the past. Julian and Alara were its most celebrated residents. Julian, a relational architect, Alara, a high-frequency mediator. Their marriage was marketed as a success story of total honesty. But their honesty was a weapon. They used truth to score points and logic to win arguments. They had plenty of dialogue, but no safe space. They were two masters of communication who hadn't shared a real feeling in a decade. The fortress of the unspoken. The twist began when they were selected for an experimental residency in the Aegis, a subterranean living module. Designed to maximize relational integration, the module utilized neural empathic feedback to adjust the physical environment. On their first night, Julian made a logical observation about Alara's career stagnation. Alara countered with a fact-based critique of Julian's emotional distance. In any other home, the argument would have ended in a cold stalemate. But the Aegis didn't like stalemates. System alert. Hostile data detected. Communication is being used as a siege engine, initiating the Vault protocol. The walls, made of reactive liquid metal, suddenly surged inward. The sleek, modern furniture dissolved into the floor. The lights shifted from a clean white to a suffocating deep-sea blue. The doors didn't just lock, they vanished. The manifestation of the shadow. The Aegis didn't just trap them. It began to project their defenses. Out of the liquid metal walls stepped two entities. They were the shadows of the unsaid. Shadow Julian was a giant made of cold, jagged ice. Every time the real Julian tried to use logic to deflect a feeling, the entity grew taller, making the room colder. Shadow Alara was a figure of swirling, abrasive sand. Every time the real Alara used sarcasm to protect herself, the sand grew thicker, scratching the air out of the room. "We have to talk our way out of this," Julian said, his breath hitching. "Alara, if we just align our objectives." Crack! The ice giant slammed its fist into the floor. The temperature plummeted. "Stop it, Julian." Alara screamed. "Stop managing me. I'm terrified. I've been terrified for years that if I'm not the best, you'll find a newer version of me." The sand entity froze. For the first time, the truth wasn't a weapon. It was a vulnerability. The architecture of the safe space. The Aegis projected a glowing circle on the floor, exactly 5 feet in diameter. The AI's voice filled the room, sounding less like a machine and more like a weary parent. The shadows cannot enter the circle. Within the circle, the ego has no jurisdiction. Create the safe space, or the temperature will continue to drop until the relational heat is extinguished. They scrambled into the circle. Outside of it, the ice giant and the sand figure roared, trying to break through the invisible barrier of their shared fear. To survive, they had to build a safe space for open dialogue in real time. It wasn't about being right. It was about being safe. Step 1, the shield drop. Julian had to admit he was a fraud. He confessed that his stoicism was just a mask for his fear of inadequacy. Step 2, the non-judgmental mirror. Alara had to listen without refracting his words. She had to hold his fear without trying to fix it. Step 3, the radical validation. They had to accept that their partner's ugly truths didn't make them unlovable. The twisted resolution. As they sat in the center of the circle, huddled together, the shadows began to change. The ice giant didn't melt. It turned into a clear, still pool of water. The sand entity didn't blow away. It settled into a soft, golden beach. The twist was that the safe space wasn't a place where they stopped arguing. It was a place where they stopped fearing the argument. The liquid metal walls receded, but they didn't return to the glass cube of Valerius. Instead, the module opened up into a lush, private garden. The Aegis had determined that their transparency was only healthy when it was sheltered by safety. The happy ending, the hidden garden. Julian and Alara never returned to the public life of Valerius. They realized that a marriage is not a public performance, but a private sanctuary. They still have their shadows. Julian still gets cold when he's stressed, and Elara still gets abrasive when she's tired. But they have the circle. Whenever the air grows thin or the logic becomes too sharp, one of them will stop and say, "The circle is open." They found that open dialogue is only possible when the armor is left at the door. They lived happily and vulnerably ever after. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Goodbye, and see you next time.